Hey everybody, this is Jamie from IndependenceStNola and Seasons from Ritual, and I'm here to talk about us going into Scorpio season, and I'm going to talk about the Venus star point and the energies of Saturn turning direct, and I'm actually going to talk a little bit too about Mars in Gemini. So this to me is setting up the stage for the Scorpio season that we are going into, and I'm going to try to break it down so it makes sense, like it kind of layers on top of each other. So first and foremost, let's start with Mars and Gemini. So Mars has been in Gemini for a minute, you guys. So you know how these planets are direct, and so they go through the different signs. But now Mars moved into Gemini, and now he's stationing retrograde. And so basically, what this means is right now he is still direct. He will station retrograde on the 30th. So we would say Mars is in his shadow right now because he's just kind of hanging out in Gemini. Now, Gemini is an air sign. Gemini is mutable. Gemini is the twins. And Gemini went through the south node, the lunar south node, 2 years ago. So when Gemini was going through the lunar south node, 2 years ago, and it stays in it for 2 years. To me, that was signaling the end of duality. And now Mars is in Gemini, and he's going to be retrograde in Gemini. And so, to me, that is signaling that Mars is helping us clean out more of that idea of duality, and he's going to help us get into this unity consciousness that keeps coming onto the planet. So stick a pin in that thought, and let's move to Saturn stationing direct. So Saturn stationed direct yesterday. Saturn has been in Aquarius for 2 years. Saturn will move out of Aquarius in 2023, but for now, Saturn is still in Aquarius. Aquarius is the fixed air sign. Okay, so we have Mars in the mutable air sign, that is Gemini. We have Saturn in fixed air, which is Aquarius, and Aquarius is the future. Okay, Aquarius is that mind of the future. In Aquarius, ancient ruler was Saturn. When I still talk about Aquarius, I still say it has two rulers, and I still say it's Saturn and Uranus. So Saturn is in Aquarius, and to me, with that signaling, because he's been in there for 2 years, right? But now that he's turning stable, as I say, Saturn to me is stability. Before he kind of had a bad rap as the taskmaster, but to me he just wants stability. He wants accountability. He wants to show you that if you just show up and get it done, it will be done. So he's turning direct. He turned direct yesterday. So he's creating this stability for me of these ideas coming in, right? And so it's bouncing in, it's coming in this fixed air sign. He's like, how can we make this stable? He's looking over at Mars, who is in Gemini, who's going to be there for 2 months, okay? And he's like, we got to keep working with this, okay? And Mars is like, no problem, man. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay in Gemini for 2 months or so we can retrograde in Gemini for 2 months, so we can go over these things and figure this stuff out. Because today, on the 22nd of October, we have a new Venus star point. And this is a Venus star point is when Venus and the sun become conjunct. And when they're conjunct, when things are conjunct, it means they're on top of each other, basically. And so we have that divine masculine and that divine feminine, the sun and Venus, conjunct today. And so we put a pin in it when it's in the sky, and that becomes a Venus star point. Now, what's interesting about this Venus star point is that she was at the same spot, the same area, 4 years ago in 2018, and she was in the late degrees of Libra, early degrees of Scorpio 4 years ago. And so it's important to see or think about where you guys were 4 years ago and how your life was going, and see where you guys are now in your life and how things are going. Because when she was there 4 years ago, she wasn't, as we call, a full Venus. She was retrograde. But now she's showing up and she's meeting the masculine at full strength, okay? Now, what's important to note here is that it's in the 29th degree of Libra, and Libra is the third air sign. Libra is the cardinal air sign. So we have all this action moving with these air signs, okay? So it's time to really start see where we're moving away from old ways of thinking, see where we can move in new ways of thinking, and it's also important to see where we can bring things that already worked, bring them back into the mix as well. You know, Venus and the Sun conjunct today in Libra. Libra is balance. Libra is the diplomat. Um, it is to me signaling showing up as our full authentic selves, our masculine and feminine. We have that inside of us no matter how we present. It's there. It's time. It's time for it to start moving forward as one, okay? Which is so exciting. How do we keep that balance going into Scorpio season? Scorpio right now is in the lunar south node, okay? And as we mentioned at the beginning of the video, Gemini was in the lunar south node 2 years ago. Scorpio is in the lunar south node right now. He's been in there about a year and a half. He's at 13 degrees. It's important to know when we talk about signs being in the lunar south node, it starts at the hardest point and then gets to the easiest point. So it'll go 13, 12. It'll keep lightening up, lightening up. So Scorpios, hang in there, guys and gals and theys and all you Scorpios, just hang in there. You guys are in it to win it. But what you're doing, being in that south node, is allowing us to get rid of this shadow energy that plagued us through the age of Pisces with all the illusion and the secrets. And I mean, to me, it's just like the secrets. We're getting rid of secrets. You know, we're getting rid of the idea that, you know, we can't talk about things. We're getting rid of this idea that it only can be one way or the other way. And we're showing up authentically with this masculine and feminine working together. I think it's really beautiful too when it's going into Scorpio season. You know, Scorpio season is ruled by, or Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. Scorpio represents death, and Scorpio is a water sign. It's a fixed water sign. And to me, like when we hit Scorpio season, it is this time that we start to go immediately into this underground with Persephone. When I think of the underground, I do think of it, you know, being ruled by the feminine, of course, but also, you know, but also the masculine. And I always like the feminine just a little bit more, okay, than the masculine. And the reason I say that is because the feminine energy is what births, you know, but we have to remember that masculine energy is what impregnates. And so it's important to realize that, you know, it has to be both have to be present, okay? And so we're moving into Scorpio season with this new, like, lit up energy. Venus is full. We're hitting this full Venus. She's meeting the sun. We've got a Venus star point. It's at the 29th degree of Libra, which is a point of mastery. All right, you guys, we've got to start seeing how we can, what we can master and how we can change, and what we need to change we can take to the underground where it will be transmuted and rebirthed. I do feel like the Scorpio season isn't going to be as, I want to say, as hard, for lack of a better word, than other Scorpio seasons, even though we are still in that south node, and even though we are entering eclipse season, right? But it's important to see that we're bringing in all this full energy of the masculine and the feminine as one, not having secrets, not being toxic, moving into Scorpio season. So remember that, you know, and let me just say this, Scorpio to me, and this is just my personal opinion, and you know, opinions are like assholes, we all have them. I don't see any of the fixed signs as quote unquote relationship signs. And does that mean I'm wrong? Or, you know, Helen, she sees Scorpio as a relationship sign. Does that mean she's wrong? No, nope. And that's the thing about astrology, you guys. It's important for you to take it, see what resonates, and see what makes sense with you, and start writing your own mythology. You know, that is why I reference how, you know, Saturn ruled Aquarius, and then Uranus rules Aquarius, right? Because it's important to see that myths need to change, myths need to update. The story of ourselves, the same, we need to change, we need to update. So going into Scorpio season, that is ruled by Pluto, this is a great time now that you're showing up in your full authentic self with the masculine and feminine being together. Take all those old stories, implant them, and let them transmute, let them die. This is the perfect time to do that. Just so you know, I will be making a video on eclipse season, which is also starting, has also started. A good example of that is that prime minister who stepped down after 44 days. That's a good eclipse energy. She got eclipsed out. Same time, some new energy is going to come in, right? But it's time to start seeing a hopeful energy. You know, hope is Aquarius. The future is Aquarius. That is Saturn's direct now. We're bringing in the stability. So, yeah, I hope this makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I will do a video on eclipses, which I associate with wild magic. I think they're so beautiful. And I think it's also extremely beautiful because of this magical time of year, you know, going to the underground. This idea of where things are birthed and where things go to compost, right? And, you know, it's Samhain, we're coming up on Samhain, we're coming up on Halloween, we're coming up on All Saints Day. So the veil is getting thin, you guys, and it's a time for us to start embracing where we're moving. It's time to, like, you know, Venus and the Sun have met up and they're conjunct, you know, they've become one entity and they're heading into the underground. Saturn has turned direct. Saturn wants the stability in bringing in these future ideas. And Mars is there with Gemini saying, hey guys, I'm not going anywhere until we get some really good ideas. We got 2 months and some change, I would say, to figure this stuff out. So this is an exciting time. I'm looking forward to Scorpio season. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via Instagram, or you guys can email me from the website, or Instagram or YouTube. Here we go. Okay. All right, you guys have a great Venus Star Point day, and I will see you soon.